Welcome to the Legacy Justice Radio Show on Harambe Internet Radio and TV. This is Nkechi Taifa, and I am honored to be able to host Legacy Justice. The goal of our show is to help inform and shape the national discourse on targeted justice issues that disproportionately impact people of color and the poor. I am an attorney, an activist, an author, a motivational speaker, and an entrepreneur. Through the Legacy Justice Radio Show, I hope to facilitate public education, dialogue, and critical analysis of cutting-edge issues, and I will illuminate voices from communities that have historically been excluded from equal justice under the law and adversely impacted by the inequities of the U.S. administration of justice. The Legacy Justice Radio Show is part of the Legacy Empowerment Center, which houses educational and entrepreneurial projects which enrich the legal, educational, cultural, and financial health of the community. You may visit the Legacy Empowerment Center at www.legacyempowerment.org. Be sure to sign our guest book so we'll know you stopped by. And if you need to reach me, fill out the contact form online again at www.legacyempowerment.org. I invite you to join the Legacy Justice Radio Show every Thursday night, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on Harambe Internet Radio and TV for stimulating commentary and community conversation. Well, listening audience, I am just so excited today with a guest that I have on this evening. I'm just so excited because the inaugural of the Legacy Justice Show was on the shocking case of the Scott sisters that it started in June of last year, and now I'm just blessed to be able to present to you, the Harambe audience, the Scott sisters themselves, who walked out of prison just barely a couple of weeks ago after serving nearly 17 years unjustly in a Mississippi prison. Jamie and Gladys Scott, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Welcome to Harambe. Welcome, and welcome to Chokwe Lumumba, your attorney. Jamie and Gladys, give us some opening words that the community, the nation, the world wants to hear from you, from your own words. From your own mouths? Can you give us just some opening words for our listening audience?
Well, this is Gladys, and I'd like to thank everybody that's out there that's supporting us and supporting us in this fight for our freedom. And we just want to say thank you. We blessed, and to have so many that love us and that wrote us letters and encouragement and everything.
And this is Jamie, and I just want to thank everyone for all their support, and all their love and everything such as that, because without it, we wouldn't have made it through. And like I say, that it's been a long fight, but the war is beginning now. The fight is through now. We're in the war stage, and I'm grateful, and I'm just so overwhelmed. I don't even have words at times to say that I'm so overwhelmed.
Wow. That's interesting that you said the war has been going on, but the fight has really just begun. We're going to get into that in just a bit, but I just want to say, I know I heard word that you had been released, and I will never forget the date. It was December the 29th, because I was at the dinner table, and it was the date of my birthday, December 29th. What better birthday present could there have been to hear word that the governor of Mississippi, Hallie Barbour, was actually forced as a result of the pressure from the community and from the nation and the world to release you. How did you feel, Jamie and Gladys, when you heard the news that you were to be released?
I just started crying. It was just, I'm glad. I just started crying, and it was just a shock. It just felt like a burden had been lifted off of me, because I have prayed and prayed and prayed for this day, and justice has finally came. And so words can't explain how I felt that day.
And for that same question, this is Jamie. To me, it felt like that I was gonna finally get the help that I needed. That I was not gonna die in a Mississippi prison, like I have seen so many of my sisters die up in there, because of the poor medical treatment and things. So to me, it was a sense of I was going to live again.
Wow. Well, you know, ladies, in June when I first featured this on the Harambe radio, I featured your mom, Miss Evelyn Vasco, and also Sister Marpessa, and they were on and telling about the case. And I quoted from one of my colleagues, Anthony Popper, who wrote in the Huffington Post. He said, talk about injustice. He said, how do you wind up in prison serving 2 life terms each for a robbery, a so-called robbery that netted, you know, $11. And, you know, he wrote about that, and other persons wrote about it, the New York Times, and you've been on CNN. There's been a lot of attention over the past number of months with respect to this case. The NAACP, you know, has stepped in. What do you think about the amount of support that you've received recently? And but before you answer that, I just want to say there's been an avalanche of support recently, but basically you've been in prison really the entire life of my daughter, who was born in 1994, and many people don't realize that you've already spent over a decade, nearly 2 decades in prison. What do you think about that long time period and then the avalanche of support that's coming now?
Well, excuse me, me personally, I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful. You know, I didn't really know how many supporters we had. I knew it was a lot of them, but I didn't know the number until we had to, Mr. Lumumba and them put together a rally. And when we seen it on TV, I like to pass out. I knew my mother had built up a lot of support on the internet, her and Nancy Lockhart. But to see all those people come out in the heat for me and my sister, that overwhelmed me. That overwhelmed me to where I walked around the prison. I remember walking around the prison the next day like in a trance, like all those people stood in that heat for us, you know, and it was just beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, you know, one person wanted me to make sure that make sure that everyone knows that your case really is not an isolated case. Your case is a horrendous case. It's a shocking case. It's such an egregious case. But like we're talking about Mississippi, and I was you know, stressed to state that these things like this happen and happening within the U.S. Justice system for many years. What do you have to say about that in terms of other persons who might have been suffering injustices as well?
My personal opinion on that right there is, you know, only thing you can do is just hold on, because I know for a fact that there's innocent people locked up here in Mississippi. But what people don't realize that in the state of Mississippi, everybody thinks slavery is dead. My opinion, slavery is called the law. It's called the law in the state of Mississippi. And, you know, for those that are still incarcerated and they know in their heart and their mind and their soul that they're innocent, you just hold on. Because I couldn't see this day. Back in 1994 when I went to prison, I could not see this day. In my mind, I was going to die in prison. But in a part of my mind, I kept hope alive. And I kept praying every day, like, I'm not going to die in this place. I'm not going to keep living like this. I didn't know who God was going to use or how he was going to use it. But he did. He showed up and he showed out.
Before I bring up your attorney, who has been a dear friend and colleague of mine for many years, I want to hear a little bit about what it was like in prison. I know one of the things I read from one of you all talked about the injustices and the indignities, and in terms of having to strip and spread and you know all of those indignities that you face. So just tell us a little bit about that and a little bit about the how that caused or exacerbated the medical problems with respect to Jamie.
What a lot of people don't understand, that you see a lot of prison movies on TV, but you know what? In reality, it's nothing like that. You know, to me, the movies, they paint a pretty picture to me. But, you know, it was horrible. Every day living in sewage, living with spiders. When it rained outside, it rained inside. The food was horrible. And just being mistreated. You know, you had some guards that treated you with respect. Then you had some that just didn't care. They didn't like inmates, and they let it be known they didn't like inmates. And, you know, it's a mental abuse. Just mental. If you weren't used to living like an animal, and they put you in an animal situation, it mentally destroys you. It mentally destroys you. And you know, even with the medical condition situation, with my situation, you know, I walked in prison healthy. I have never drank. I have never smoked. I have never did drugs. I walked in healthy. Now I'm coming out of prison on with stage 5 kidney disease, all because of neglect. All because of neglect, because they don't care. Because half of the medical people that work at the prison, some of them is either on paying up as working community service or paying off a fine. Mm-hmm. And you know, it's horrible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you and Gladys, were you together the whole time in prison, separated? What was that? What type of contact did you or did you not have?
For the okay, this is Gladys. For the first 10 years, me and Jamie was together, and then they separated us, and they moved her to on the other side of the prison, and it was just like mental because I was so used to seeing my sister and being with her, and then when she got down sick, I couldn't take care of her because Jamie had got so sick until somebody had to bathe her, somebody had to help feed her, you know, comb her hair, and the prison wouldn't allow me to do that, to be housed with her so I could take care of her. And then she was living in mold and staff, and it was just really mental on me. But I knew I had to stay prayed up and ask God to protect my sister and don't let nothing happen to her, because it was many days, you know, I thought she wasn't going to make it. But I know with the help of God, she made it on through. And then I had some other inmates, they was watching out for her, make sure she got her bath and stuff, because she was unable to do that for herself, because she had got real down.
Mm-hmm. And I know that you appealed on a number of occasions to be able to be with her during those times. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am, that is.
Yes, Mr. Lumumba appealed to the commission on several accounts to try to get us housed together.
And my mother and Nancy Lohart, they sent out all kind of emails and everything, and they refused. They denied every request that we sent in. But I kept on praying. I kept on praying to ask God to send somebody to help my sister. And you know, it took a big toll on me because me and Jamie have always been close. And it was just like when she was going through it, I was going through it because I could feel her pain, and I know that she needed me. And I'm actually begging them, you know, to house me and my sister together. Just let me take care of her, you know, because she didn't want nobody, you know, washing her up, you know, and stuff. But at the same time, she didn't have no choice, and that really, really hurted me. But I knew I had to keep it together and stay strong because we had to fight this thing because we had to bring her out of that condition that she was living in.
Right.
Let me put a plug in this for a moment and bring on the attorney, the people's lawyer, the freedom fighter lawyer, Brother Chokwe Lumumba. Chokwe, talk to us about just how the suspended sentence came about. What was your involvement? Let us know just what it is you're able to let us know.
Okay, let me say that. Say first of all, I want to thank you and Nkechi and Jamani and the program for when they were in prison and couldn't talk to y'all because they couldn't get to you and you couldn't have them on because the prison wouldn't let media go into the prison, for helping to talk about the case to so many other people, and that helped spread the word. And as you pointed out, you did that back when Ms. Roscoe was able to come on and continued to do it. So I think that we really appreciate that. I also want to say that, you talked about the building of support. I think it's important to understand now on September 15th is when the demonstration occurred, and we saw that support pour into the street, and that was a fascinating and a wonderful moment. But, those moments never happen unless you start building the bricks from the bottom in order to build up the kind of movement that you need in order to do these things. So Jamie and Gladys themselves were the first bricks that were laid because they refused to be criminalized. And, you know, many people, they break their will, break their spirit, and they put them in prison. And then that's all you hear from them, or they no longer, you know, are viable, and they fall into despair, complete despair. They resisted that, and they fought back. Ms. Roscoe and all the people in the family, as well as the supporters that she was able to put together in the use of the internet at a point when the internet became more and more popular, were the other bricks that were being built, you know, to make this thing work. And ultimately it got to be not only national, it got to be international in terms of its interest. So that's how we built this house. And then on the 15th of September, what we were able to do is to find a way, since we were in Jackson and many of the supporters who were in the leadership were not in Jackson, but since we were in Jackson, we were able to really get people in Jackson mobilized and around Mississippi mobilized, along with people from other places, to actually hit the streets. So that is, without the early support to build the knowledge of the Scott sisters, then the September 15th demonstration probably would not have been as successful, because not as many people would have known over the years about the Scott sisters. And so I just want to emphasize the teamwork nature of what we did and what all of us have done, and particularly starting with Jamie and Gladys. So I just want to make note of that. But to get to the whole issue of the question of the suspended sentence, we, of course, were not, that was not what we asked for. We asked for a pardon. We actually asked for clemency, which included two things, a pardon, and it also included, could have included a commutation. The differences between those two things is this: when you get a pardon, then that knocks out the crime. It knocks out the sentence, and then you're just released, and then you don't really have anybody supervising you or anything like that. If you do a commutation, that doesn't necessarily knock out the crime, but at least the commutation knocks out the sentence. I mean, you no longer do you have to serve any more of the sentence. It abruptly ends the sentence right there. Both of those things were what we requested. The pardon was denied, and the parole board apparently recommended that they not get the pardon, and then the commutation also was denied, and the parole board recommended that. The governor then told the parole board he wanted them to consider a suspended sentence, and they did recommend a suspended sentence, and with the suspended sentence, it was given. So that's the way the procedure happened. But how it came about, this is my view. I think that what we were doing, we really were in the process of fighting hard around the medical conditions. We were trying to get them out on a medical release first. The head of the prison system in Mississippi is named Christopher Epps. So we were trying to get Epps to rule that Jamie was medically entitled to be out because she could die within 6 months, and she really could have with the kind of treatment they were giving her, and that Gladys should be released in order to give a kidney in order to try to save her sister. He did not. He rejected that. He rejected that. But we were in the process of fighting for that. And then we said, well, look, let's go ahead and we're building the support. We're already building support. We were building for the demonstration, which occurred on September 15th. And so it made sense to go ahead and hit it again with the petition for clemency. We knew that the governor, and it became more and more obvious to us, actually, as time went on, that the governor was one of the poster boys for the Republican Party. You know, they were showing him around the country as being an important person, and he was part of this Tea Party movement and things of that nature. So we also figured that the outside of Mississippi, now inside of Mississippi, to be quite honest with you, I don't think what the governor did, nor do I think he thinks that it changed what people were going to do, period. I mean, in other words, people in Mississippi, and at least my political view, the white folks in Mississippi were going to vote the same way, and most of them voted for him. And the blacks, generally are on the opposite side of the fence on the political issues from Governor Barber, so they probably weren't going to change. So I don't really think that was done for us in Mississippi. But what I think that what he needed in order to make him a legitimate person to look at outside of Mississippi, he needed something to show that he wasn't the typical governor from Mississippi who had sponsored and supported racist views for years and years. So I think that we were smart to file the thing when we did, and what he did, he reacted to it because he needed the political mileage on the outside of Mississippi. And so that's one of the reasons I'm sure that motivated him to go along with it. And that's really how he wound up giving us something. Now, in terms of denying the pardon and the clemency, there's two ways to look at that. Or the pardon and the, the commuted sentence. Commutation. Yeah, the commutation sentence, right. Well, in honesty, and we need to always be honest, he has always he's never granted anybody a pardon immediately. He always has granted either a suspended sentence or some other kind of sentence when the person got out of prison. He did that to the other 4 people who have been... You mean the ones who murdered their wives that he let out? Yeah, right. And the 90-something-year-old man that was murdered, his murderer was let out. I mean, I'm just, from what I understand in terms of the record of the governor prior to now. Well, and it appeared in the New York Times, and that was an accurate article. And also, I think that was part of the baggage that he would have had to carry with him politically if he would have refused to let out Jamie and Gladys, who really hadn't done anything, period, and certainly hadn't even been accused or convicted of doing anything anywhere close to as serious as the people that he had let out. The only thing that those folks had done in common, those people that he let out, I think they worked on his house. They worked on the mansion. And so, but in any event, when they let them out, he did not release them on a pardon initially. They gave them suspended sentences, and then later on the pardons came. So you're saying there's still a chance that Jamie and Gladys will actually receive a pardon as opposed to being under what actually amounts to lifetime parole right now? Absolutely, and that's absolutely the only thing we will accept. We cannot accept this conditional release. Of course, we were happy to get them released, and so and another thing people have to understand about a petition for clemency, it's totally within the governor's discretion what he does. Right. I mean, it's not like a legal thing where you can come in there and do some great legal arguments and win it. You have to try to do what we did, is build public pressure, and at the same time build it at a time when it's in the governor's interest to do something, and then you get some results. So we really were in no position while they were still in there to demand what kind of conditions they would be released on, although our clear demand was for a pardon. But now that they're out, we're going to continue to struggle. We're going to continue to struggle for a full pardon. And we're going to continue to struggle in the courts if necessary. That's another option we have in terms of post-conviction relief. Chokwe, I just want to put a plug just for a moment. Before we get back to the legal leads, we're going to get to that, and I want to get to the specific conditions. I want to go back to Jamie and Gladys right now for a moment, and to more of the human element. I know, Gladys, one of the things I had read that you had said that when you left your children, they were 7, 3, and 11 months old. I'm not sure what their ages are now, but can you and Jamie talk about the children that were left behind and what the reunion was like?
Well, my 2 kids, Olivia, she was 6 years old, and I was pregnant with Courtney. So I was pregnant when I went to prison, and I had Courtney in prison. And so, just seeing her, because when I had her, we only spent 8 hours together, and they took me back to the prison, and my mother came and got Courtney. So just seeing her and looking at her grow up to be the young woman she is, it was just amazing. Then when I was just seeing my oldest daughter, she's 22, and then my grandkids, I was just thanking the Lord, because I never thought that I would get a chance to be out and see them, and now I could be recording when she graduates, and it's just truly a blessing.
Wow. And that was Gladys speaking?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and Jamie, what about you and your children?
When I got locked up, my daughter, she was 7, and my son was 3, and my baby was 11 months old. And now he should be 18. My other son is 19, and my daughter is 23 years old. And just to see my daughter now, she's excuse me, I done caught a cold too for the change of weather, but just to see my daughter now, she the one taking me and Gladys all over, taking us to our appointments and everything. She's a woman. That's just so amazing. Sometimes she's driving and she said, "Mama, why are you looking at me?" And I said, "Mimi, you're a woman now. When I left you, you was a little snotty-nosed girl, and now you just a woman. I done missed out on so much." And she'll tell me, "Well, Mama, don't even worry about that. We got all these other years to make up for it."
Beautiful, beautiful. And what about your mother? I on the show a number of months ago, I characterized her as a queen mother, just based on the strength and everything she's had to bear. And I think one of you all said she's only 4 feet 9 inches or something along those lines, just like me. Yeah. What about the reunion with your mother and your brother also, who I know recently returned from Iraq, I think. Yeah.
Well, he's still over there. He's still over there. And we talked to him on the phone, and he was so happy. He even offered to give me. He offered to be a secondary candidate if Gladys is not a primary, to give me a kidney. He offered me, and then my mother. She's happy to have us home. But she's a strong little lady. She really is, and she told us she's finna get ready to take a vacation.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. All of you all need a vacation. Yes, indeed. In fact, yeah, that's a great idea. We need to come together with some donations to get you all on a cruise or something along those lines. You know what I'm saying?
That would be wonderful.
Yeah. Let me go back to Chokwe, Attorney Lumumba, for a moment. We've been talking about these conditions and talking about a kidney. And can you tell just what some of these conditions were and just what it means in terms of a suspended sentence? I mean, are Gladys and Jamie free? I mean, what does it mean with respect to what the requirements are of the release?
Right. No, they're not completely free. They're free from prison, which is a big step, but they still aren't free from the conditions. And a lot of our people right now are in society under conditions of release. A lot of people on probation and parole. When you add up those folks, you got a whole huge number of people who are under the custody of the state in a different way. In other words, they're not in prison, but they're under the custody of the state outside of prison. Now, it's interesting, the governor of the state of Mississippi, when he let them out, he made statements on radio that says that, which kind of led us to believe that any kinds of restraints on their liberty would be very minimal and that they would be trivial. In other words, we led to believe that there would not be any stringent supervision and they could move around and things of that nature. Well, we're working that out now. We're not quite sure that that's the real reality. But the fact of the matter is that that's what we're going to fight for: a total vindication of them, total pardon, total alleviation of all their restraints. And so that's what is important, and that's what we have to do. But you're kind of looking over your shoulder. In these situations, particularly if you don't have understanding of people who are supposed to be supervising you. So we're working on that. We're working on that, and we're going to make it as best we can before we get the full pardon. But we're going to get the full pardon. I believe we will.
Okay. So what happens if the test revealed that Gladys might not be an acceptable candidate to donate a kidney. Does that mean she goes back to prison? I'm not quite sure what this condition of the donation of a kidney, even though Gladys has always stated that she wanted to give her sister a kidney, but to make that a condition of release, are there some constitutional issues or biomedical issues or some type of issues dealing with organ transplant? Something doesn't quite ring right with that to me.
Yeah, there are.
Jamie, Gladys, what do you think about that?
I was very shocked when it was announced like that. I was very, very shocked when it was announced like that. But I still don't fully understand it, even though Mr. Lumumba have tried to explain it to us. But my mind won't comprehend what it's saying, because to me it's just inhumane.
And my understanding also is that you and your sister, pursuant to the laws, are required to pay for the supervision of your own parole. Pay $52 per month each. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, that's correct. But when I went to my kidney doctor the other day, he gave me a slip to take to my parole officer, letting her know that I am unable to work. So therefore, they're supposed to waive my payment.
But I still have to pay mine every month. I still have to pay $52, and then $30 for a drug test.
Right.
You have to take a drug test as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Chokwe Lumumba, let me just ask you this. Many people who are released from prison face really what I call a prison after imprisonment, in terms of the myriad of civil disabilities that they face as a result of a felony conviction, such as the loss of the right to vote, such as the inability to be able to get a loan to further their education, with respect to the inability to receive public benefits, or the inability to reside in public housing if they were convicted of a certain type of offense, and the list goes on and on and on. Are Jamie and Gladys subject to any of those civil disabilities now that they have been released from imprisonment under this suspended sentence?
Yeah, they're subject to the limitations on voting. They're subject to other limitations that the parole board and the parole office imposes upon them. Now, of course, in many instances, what kind of limitations are imposed will depend upon the parole officers. The parole officers can certainly be more humane and limit their intervention into the lives of these two women, and they should. And I think that that's one of the things we're going to be fighting for while we're fighting to get rid of the limitations, period. But yeah, so to answer your question, the answer to that, the short answer is yes. There is these limitations on both Jamie and Gladys, and so that's one of the reasons when Jamie came on, she said that the war has just begun. And that's what we mean by that. We're still going to have that demonstration on April 1st here in Jackson, Mississippi. And we're going to, I think that more of the world will come to it now that they're out, and more of the world's going to get a chance to hear from them and see what kind of women they are. And I think that's going to draw more people. And I think the governor, if he's talking about running for president or something, then he's going to have to take note of that. I really do. And in fact, he'll be closer to the day at that point, on April 1st. So, yeah, we're gonna raise the roof. We're gonna raise the roof.
Well, I'll say this: Harambe Radio is going to help you raise the roof as well. And I'm really grateful to Harambe for allowing me to have this platform to be able to talk about this case. And Harambe did this almost like a whole week or a whole month of programming. Senghor Baye and Delani Ahmad and many others just raising this issue up. And I know I first heard about this case really on the back of a calendar. A group in Washington put together a calendar each year called the Black Seeds Calendar, and they had a beautiful poster with Jamie and Gladys' picture in there with a whole horrendous story laid out, and that was maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I was just so shocked again because it had already been going on for 14 years then, and so to have it come to the conclusion that it's come to right now really warms my heart. But you're right, the battle still continues, the struggle still continues, and everyone within the listening audience really needs to know that we really need to redouble our effort. They need to have a full part, and they need to not be under any type of disabilities whatsoever. And actually, quiet as a kept, Jamie and Gladys need to receive reparations for those years upon years of unjust incarceration at the hands of the state of Mississippi. I don't know if you want to comment on that, but that's what it really boils down to. Go ahead, Chokwe.
Yeah, well, let me comment on it. Yes, there's no question about it, that they are entitled to be compensated for the years that they spent struggling in those institutions for survival. That's a stage that we're not at yet, but we intend to get there. And especially, see, in the legal posture of the case, being out on this pardon, even if it would have been a pardon, that would probably not have entitled them to take that action in and of itself. But now, really, the fact that they're out on a suspended sentence means that the government still has their hands on them. So one of the things that we will be looking to do, we will be seeking the pardon, but we will also be seeking, I believe, a post-conviction where we can overturn the whole conviction. And once you overturn the conviction, then you are in a position where you can seek restitution. The other thing is, of course, they're going to flower out here, and I think that we're going to do everything we can to let people know what kind of great women they are. And so I think that we don't want to discuss all of our strategy on the radio, but right. I will tell you for sure that no, they don't have to sit still on the violation of their rights. I think that now we're on the outside, we are in better position to plan on those things than we were when they were sitting in jail.
Jamie and Gladys, one of my colleagues, Artemisia Stanberry, who's actually her cousin has been unjustly incarcerated in Alabama for years, but she wanted me to ask you how one can access the book that you all mentioned during the Soledad O'Brien interview on CNN, stating the events that led up to the arrest and conviction. She said that one of you all said that you typed the pages of the book with a typewriter and your mother sent it out to people for several years. She wants to know what is that and where can she get that. Can one of you all answer that?
Yeah, I actually typed, that's how everything started coming about. I typed the book explaining about our case, the lifestyle of some of my family members, and what led up to this, the reason why this happened to us. But my mom doesn't have any of the copies left. When I first got here, I asked her about it, and she said that she don't have not nail copy left.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, do you think Nancy Lockhart might? First of all, I just want to give it up for Nancy Lockhart because I know for years upon years she has held up the banner for this particular case. Anytime I go on the Internet, I'll see her name and, associated with not only this case but a lot of cases for justice. I just want to give it up to her. So I don't know, maybe she might have it or maybe so we can put out an appeal over the Internet. Does anyone have a copy? You need a copy of your own what you pen with your own hands. Typewriter.
Yeah, and Nancy probably do have a copy.
Okay.
Because Nancy keeps everything of ours. So she probably do have a copy.
Nancy is a wonderful lady. She didn't stop. I think her and Mama, they lived on the Internet night and day. And Nancy is just truly a blessing, and I love her so much.
Right. Let me just mention this also. Yes, in Washington, D.C., during the summer, there was a big rally in front of the White House and the Justice Department calling for your release. And a representative from the White House did, in fact, come out to Lafayette Park to meet with us and to actually listen to the stories. I just want to let you know that it did reach the White House, and a representative did come and took the materials and the like. So I just want to make sure that you knew that as well. I'm just curious. I read when you all got out there, and Attorney Lumumba, I think you said this, that the first thing they wanted was a good meal, and you said something about, you know how women are, they wanted to get some clothes. Jamie and Gladys, I want to know from your own mouth, what was the first thing you all were thinking about when you got out? I saw the picture with you waving out of the car, it just warmed my heart. I put that on my Facebook page as well. But what was going through your mind when you stepped out of those cells, out of that prison?
I think I told Chokwe, I said I want me a gyros. I said because I've been wanting a gyros for 16 years because we was raised in Chicago, and so that was the first thing I wanted was a gyros and a Dr. Pepper because we can't buy Dr. Pepper sodas in there. And that's what I wanted when I got out.
All right. I hope you got it. Did you get it?
Yeah, he got it for me. Yeah.
And was that Jamie or Gladys?
That was Gladys. Gladys.
What about you, Jamie?
Now, as far as me, when I walked out the gate, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, is these folks going to come stop us and put us back in prison? It was just so unreal. So when we met, I kept asking, because Mr. Lumumba investigator came to pick us up because they was doing security on us too because the news people had camped out at the prison waiting on us. And I kept asking him, I remember asking him, where's Mr. Lumumba? He said, he's somewhere, you gonna meet him. And when we got there, everybody was there, we met everybody, and we just had a wonderful time. So when they took us to our hotel room, Halima, that's Mr. Lumumba's secretary, and my aunt, that's also a member of his lady that works at his firm also. When the men left out the room, me and Gladys just started taking off all our clothes and just trying on every pair of clothes in there. We ran around the hotel room with no clothes on, just trying to try on everything. We were just so not used to having clothes, and we were just trying on everything, and we just stopped and looked at each other and hugged each other and just started crying. So it was wonderful.
Wow. Mm-hmm. If you could, we're not doing a call-in now, but if you could address the people who are out there listening to you, what is it that you would want people to do right now? Do you have any specific needs? I'm not talking about the legal needs in terms of the, post-conviction and the pardon and all like that. I'm talking about personal things with Jamie and Gladys, or for the children, or for your mother. What is it that the community can come together to help make things a little bit easier, a little bit nicer for you? Let us know, please.
Well, we're in desperate need of clothes, shoes, underclothes, because we had to start over. We have nothing, so we're in desperate need of clothes and things such as that, and personal hygiene.
Okay. Attorney Lumumba, is there any way how we can help facilitate that?
Yeah. Call 601-353-4455. Folks can call 601-353-4455, and they can get the address where they can send the clothes. And where they can mail them. They can mail them to 440 North Mill Street. They can mail them care of Lumumba, Freeline.
Could you spell that, please, Mr. Lumumba?
Yeah, Lumumba is Lumumba. That's Lumumba, Freeline, Freelon, and Associates. You can send it to 440 North Mill Street, Jackson, Mississippi, 39202. But if you have some question about whether what you have to contribute is something that the Scott sisters will need, you can call the number first, and then we'll get in touch with them and make sure it's something that they can use. But then you can mail it, and then we'll make sure they get it right away. So that's something they can do. Now, let me also say this: there's a fund that still exists called the Scott Sisters Support Fund. And anybody wants to give contributions to the Scott Sisters Support Funds. Now this money's not going straight to the Scott Sisters. That's important to point out because they're on certain social, medical assistance and welfare and things of that nature. But it's going to a fund, and that fund is going to make sure that if there are needs that they are taken care of. But that's the Scott Sisters Support Fund, and that's going to be, Frida Scott Sisters Support Fund. And you can also send any kind of contributions to 440 North Mill Street, Jackson, Mississippi, 39202, Jackson, Mississippi.
And is that Mill with an S on the end?
With no S. It's just Mill.
Oh, Mill, North Mill Street. Okay, we'll make sure we get that on the internet.
I noticed at some places where we put it out, we put out a post office box. I'm not going to say both on the air here because people get confused. You give them too many addresses. But the post office box, if somebody should encounter the post office box, that's still a legitimate post office box, right? Okay.
Okay, thank you. Let me go back to Jamie and Gladys for a moment. The women that you left behind in prison, what were your relations like with the other persons who were incarcerated? Tell us a little bit about that. I'm just kind of curious as to whatever interaction you all had, what they thought about your cases and situation, and at least in the latter years, or more recently, the amount of attention that your case was receiving.
They was very happy for us, even the ones that had been there more than once. They would tell, they used to call me Big Mama in prison because I did a lot of cooking for the ladies. And they used to tell me, they say, Jamie, I deserve what I got. I did this. I deserve it. This is my third or fourth time I deserve what I got. But, you don't deserve this. You ain't never been in trouble before. You're a good person. And she said, you don't deserve this, and God gonna make a way. So when I tell you that the guards couldn't hold them back, when the announcement came through that we was being released, the prison was in an uproar. Everybody was jumping and clapping and acting a fool. They couldn't hold them back. They were so happy. I don't think it was one person that resented that we was going home, and they weren't. Everybody was so happy.
Wow.
Nkechi, I can tell you that these women are loved in that prison. We went to visit them on many occasions, and we can see that from the other inmates. They really love Jamie and Gladys. I think they call Gladys the aunt and Jamie the mama. Even though they're very young women themselves, most of the people, and this is something we should remember, most of the people in prison are real young, you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
And so, but Jamie and Gladys help give them direction and help keep some of them on a solid foundation and keep them safe and all that kind of stuff. So they did a real great job. And and proof of it is they got a whole bunch of letters from other inmates. This is the first time I've seen anything like that, because most time I was getting letters from inmates, people, of course, writing about their own concerns and their own cases. But they got all kinds of letters from inmates toward their pardon and their parole. I mean, in order to urge the governor to give them a pardon. So an inmate, here's an inmate that's in prison themselves writing about, you should let Jamie and Gladys free. So I was very impressed with that, very impressed.
Attorney Lumumba, tell me a bit about the role of the NAACP. I know that you have a history that goes back a long time with the current president, Ben Jealous. Just tell me what role NAACP played, and
They became a member of the team, and they did a good job on the team. A lot of people were calling me and this is something that we should probably generally say. You know, a lot of folks saying, well, you know, so-and-so is trying to grab the credit or so-and-so is trying to grab the credit. You know, and honestly, everybody should honestly give everybody credit who really pitched in to help. I mean, like I say, I think big kudos should be given to the folks who started when there was no big support around. So that's why we say early in the process, the Scott sisters themselves, their mother, and Nancy Lockhart when she came on a few years later, and even some of the work we did early on in trying to get win the appeals, even though they were, that they wound up not being successful, but we still did them. So all that kind of work is very important, which later builds for the day when you can have a big demonstration. But finally, but as far as as your question, relates to, repeat the question again. I didn't got off the question.
Oh, no, I was just asking about the role of the NAACP that I know you go back a long time with Ben Jealous. Prior to him being part of the NAACP, he was in Mississippi. I just wanted to know whether that relationship even had anything to do with the strength of support that the NAACP gave to the case.
It turned out to be very fortunate, because what happened is we did ask, around the time of the demonstration, we asked the NAACP to get involved. We asked the local leader, and we called Ben and asked him, who's the national president. Ben, as you know, Nkechi, worked here at the Jackson Advocate, which is our black paper in Mississippi. He worked actually on my team several times to go out and defend other people who were they were trying to put to death and other things. And he did a lot of work around the Ayers case, where you're fighting for justice for students in Mississippi at black schools to make sure they got the same money that the white students got. So he did a lot of that work under our leadership back then. And so when he wound up becoming NAACP president, that was good fortune, as it turns out for us. So and also, he became a easier person for the governor to talk to. See, sometimes we got to play good cop, bad cop roles. And
Chokwe, you were the bad cop.
Yeah, I'm the bad cop.
People warrior.
See how they laughing at me too. See that? But yeah, I had to be the bad guy. But I knew we needed a good cop, and a couple of people who we really couldn't trust, were trying to put themselves in the picture. But Ben came out and really did that. He did that, and it made a good person that the governor could talk to, because he was looking for national recognition, and of course the NAACP president is the national office, and so it turned out well. And at every time I've been present, they've given credit to the people who helped build this movement. They never have, either him or Derek, tried to tried to claim that they were the one and onlys or anything like that. So I think that that's a little misnomer. We do have our, old antagonisms sometimes, which go way back beyond the Scott sisters, have nothing to do with the Scott sisters. But I think the one thing is that the Scott sisters have done is help bring some of us to unity that may used to not be able to get along with each other, right? So I think that's good.
Jamie and Gladys, I don't know if you know who Chokwe Lumumba is, but we're talking about someone who has been on the front lines for decades and decades and decades. I mean, we're talking about Mississippi. I mean, I'm not even going to get into all that, but in terms of our listening audience, many of you all don't even know that Chokwe Lumumba is a city council person in Mississippi, and again, it's been on the forefront of just about every single human rights campaign that has gone on in the state, but not only in the state, across the country. So, Jamie and Gladys, you were really blessed to have had him as part of your representation, and Chokwe, my hat just goes off to you. And I just want to say, Jamie and Gladys, do you have any closing words for our audience? We don't have to end right at 11. We can go a few minutes beyond. I was told we could do that. So I wanted to know if there's anything that you want to say that you have not had the opportunity to say or to get off your chest. I mean, if there's something you want to say that really get some stress out, you can do that, or the love out, whatever it is. If there's anything else that you would like to share, you have the spotlight.
First of all, you say that Mr. Lumumba been around for decades and decades. Just how old is Mr. Lumumba?
He's pretty old.
That's off limits. That's off limits.
That was a good one.
But, you know, I just want to tell everyone, even if someone's incarcerated and they're listening to this, I just want to let them know, just hold on. Just hold on. There's a lot of Mr. Lumbas around. You know, I'm sorry they can't have me and Gladys, but there's a lot around. I just want them to hold on. If there's anybody incarcerated, don't never lose hope. I don't care if you got life without parole. Don't lose hope. You have to keep hope alive. And I want y'all to continue to pray for me and Gladys, because it's not easy. And I'm not going to, sit here and tell you that it's easy. There's a lot of things out here that wasn't around when we was here. And it's not easy at all trying to adapt to society, it's like we're trying to prove that we're not troublemakers, and sometimes that get kind of frustrating, and Gladys and I have to lift each other up. We're going to a room somewhere, and we have to talk to each other, and like you said, we are blessed to have Lumumba and Freelon Associates, because even his people, they call us constantly every day. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Even his daughter, bless her heart, she called and she's counseling us, and she ain't never met us, and she don't have to do that. And it's our younger son, he's our entertainment lawyer, and he's a blessing. All of them is encouraging us, and Nancy and my mother and all other supporters are sending emails and phone calls. They're trying to keep our heads up so we won't be feeling down and feeling down in the dumps and stuff. So continue to pray for us and continue to be on our side with this war we in, because it's not over. It's not over till me and Gladys is able to vote again. We want our right back to vote.
Wow. So eloquently spoken. I just want to, on behalf of everybody, all of our listening audience, everyone out there in Harambe land, we just want to wrap our arms around you and just hold you tight. And you're right, the war, this particular war, might have been one, but the fight still goes on. The struggle continues until you are finally completely free and out from under any and all conditions or limitations, period. And for those out there who did not have your pencils before, pull out your pencils now. You can send any type of donations of clothes or personal hygiene items or monetary donations in care of Lumumba, Freelon and Associates. That's Lumumba, Lumumba, Freelon, Freelon and Associates, and mail it to 440 North Mill Street. That's Mill, Jackson, Mississippi, 39202. And if you have any question with regard to anything that you're donating or an item of clothing in terms of size or anything along those lines, call 601-353-4455. That's 601-353-4455. And again, you can send donations to the Scott Sisters Support Fund. Did I get all that right, Attorney Lumumba?
Yeah, you absolutely did. Just make sure that any check or money order is made payable to Free the Scott Sisters Support Fund. And
Free the Scott Sisters Support Fund.
Right.
And one thing that I failed to mention, I want to make sure that I mention that, because Chokwe, we belong to an organization. Also, you are an attorney representing yourself, but you're also representing the organization too. I got to give it up there for the National Conference of Black Lawyers, who has put the case of the Scott Sisters in the context of our whole campaign for human rights. I just wanted to say that. So with that, Gladys and Jamie, thank you. I just want to say, Captain Tradition Asante Sana, thank you very much for gracing our airways this evening. We will pray for you, but we will fight for you as well. So again, thank you very much.
And we want to tell you happy belated birthday, and we want to tell you God bless you, and we love you for having us on your air and for spreading the word. So happy late birthday.
Thank you so very much. December 29th, I'll never forget that day, and I know you'll never forget that day either.
No.
Yes, indeed. We love you, and thank you very much, Attorney Chokwe Lumumba. And I end each one of my radio broadcast with the words of my favorite orator, Frederick Douglass, who stated that the whole history of the progress of human liberty shows that all concessions have been born of earnest struggle. Frederick Douglass said, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. He said that those who profess to favor freedom yet depreciate agitation are those who want the crops without plowing up the ground. They want the rain without the thunder and the lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. Frederick Douglass said that this struggle may be a moral one, or it may be a physical one, or it might be both moral and physical, but it's got to be a struggle, because he said then, and it still stands firm today, as evidence in the case of the Scott sisters, he said that power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. This is Attorney Nkechi Taifa, host of the Legacy Justice radio show on Harambe Internet Radio and TV, signing off. Love you all. Have a great, 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 great life.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.